This is my Scenic Route 2020 album. I made this album of hikes and camping trips we did in the summer of 2020 because I wanted something happy to look back onto for 2020. This is in a life-crafted album from Citrus Twist, which is roughly 4x8 inside the page protector, so traveler's notebook size for those of you who use those. I used layered templates for this album from Paisley Press. They were designed by Liz Tamanaha of Paisley Press, and they are gorgeous, and they made bringing this album together really, really easy, and I can't recommend them enough. So, I love this page. It has a nice overview of the five trips that we went on this summer. This was the first camping trip we did to Wish Poosh over in Easton, Washington, Fort Eby. There's 2 from there, and then 2 trips to Mount Rainier that we did. I followed the same format for all of these layouts. I used this template, the Field Notes template, where I did my journaling, and then I did a grid page with these. These are little shorter, little smaller than 2x2 pictures on the grid page, and then I intentionally left one of the squares blank when I was designing the page so that I could, these are physical chipboard elements in there, so that this would be a hybrid album rather than just a digital album. And then I have a few stamps that I stamped on with stays on, which are not perfect stamping, and I'm trying to be okay with that. Some of them have more photos than just the grid page, but that was mostly about our very first camping trip. Then this was about the hike that went along with that camping trip. We had a really hard hike that day between the 2 nights of camping, and Henry kind of lulled us into a false sense of security because the first night he went to bed super easily. And then we did this really, really hard, intense hike, and then he didn't want to go to bed the next night, which was really, really hard. I did include some full page, even double page photos in this album because our scenery is gorgeous here in Washington. Since this was a 2 4x8s, I just printed out the single 8x8 page and cut it in half. This is another trip we took. This is out to Eby's Landing. We usually go there in the winter and in the early spring, so it was really weird to be there in the summer. There's like all these flowers all over the place. This was our first trip to Rainier. We did 2 camping trips down at Mount Rainier National Park last year. And we actually didn't stay in the park because none of the national park campgrounds at Mount Rainier accept reservations. But the forest campgrounds just outside the park do. So it was easier to do that. Especially with Henry, we wanted to have reservations. Most of this chipboard that I used in embellishing those grid pieces especially are from Allie Edwards. I really like that transparency piece on there. That's attached with a tiny attacher from Tim Holtz, which my December daily was like brought to you by the tiny attacher. So I really like using that. It adds some nice visual texture, and I don't like the way adhesive looks underneath transparency pieces and acetate pieces. So I'd rather it just be the big bold statement of the staple. Some people don't like that look, but that's just my preference. Lots of pictures from Rainier because really. We were there for 2 nights and 2 full days. So the second day we did a slightly easier hike, although it was really snowy. It was really snowy on this hike. You can't really tell because I didn't take a lot of pictures of the snowy part. But Natchez Peak is a loop that we do a lot as a family, so I love this little pleather piece. That's also from Allie Edwards. Again, we're not going to talk about the stamping. It's fine. This is fine. This was the second trip down to Rainier. This was for Tom's 40th birthday, and we went to Grand Park via Lake Eleanor. It was our first time to go to Grand Park, and it was a place that had been on our bucket list for a long time, so it was really exciting to get to go down there. So this is what I'm talking about. I actually didn't use my tiny attacher here, and I wish I could. I did, because I can see the adhesive there and I don't like it. I can kind of get away with it because of the mottled texture of that transparency star behind it. At least that's what I'm telling myself, is that I can get away with it. But if I had to do this again, I would have used the tiny attacher there. I do like the way those transparency stars, though, look on those pages. This was the second day that we were there. We did the same thing that we did for the first trip, that we spent 2 nights and 2 days down there. This was to Bench and Snow Lakes. This was pretty cool because it's a pretty easy hike, but Henry was able to walk a lot of it for the first time. He got stronger and stronger as the summer went on. I really like how these wood pieces look on there. And for these, I used red line tape to attach them. This is another layered template from that same set from Paisley Press. And just reflecting on how our summer was super weird in a lot of ways, like many people's, because we were stuck. We didn't travel where we normally would because of COVID. And, we were trying to be good about wearing masks and buffs and socially distancing and all that stuff, but still getting outside as much as we could for our own mental health, and also learning how to camp with Henry and all the things that come along with that. So we learned a ton. We actually had a really awesome summer, and I'm really looking forward to next summer when Henry can hike more and camp more, and hopefully we have some fewer restrictions and less concern around global pandemic next summer. So this was that album. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and because I used those layered templates and the same repeated pattern each time, so field notes, grid, and then bigger photos, either a full page or 2 full page photos to go along with it, it made it really easy to finish, and that really helped me be successful. And I feel like it gives the album a really coherent feel. Not only that I used the same layered template set throughout, but that I used the same repeated elements. So yeah, thanks for watching. This is the Scenic Route Summer 2020 album.